This week on Beat Up Builds, we're going to look at the blower motor in this truck. It's doing a whole bunch of weird things. We're going to try and figure out what's wrong and fix it. So what's wrong with this thing is, number one, on low speed it does nothing. Does nothing. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the resistor in there. I'm like 99.9% sure that's the problem there. But I've lived with that for a long time. Haven't bothered changing it. But what's happened recently is I'll put it on high and it goes on full blast like this. And then after a second, it'll go down like that. And the voltage stays the same, so it's not, at least at the back of the alternator, it's not a lower voltage issue. So I'm going to look in here and try and figure out what's wrong. Alright, I got to pop this hose. There's a connector, electrical connector, and then 3 bolts, like this, 3/8 mils. So I'm going to do that and I'm going to drop it out and let's see what falls out. So I actually had this apart last weekend and ordered parts, but this is the original motor, Nippon Denso motor. All this stuff is, I think, like the brushes. The commutator on here is really worn. There's like a heavy groove in here. I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but there's a really big groove in here. The brushes are basically like done. There's like hardly anything left of them. So I hopped on the Amazon and I think these brushes are gonna fit. I don't know if I'm gonna, oh, I guess I could actually solder them right there. Cool. Yeah, I think these brushes might fit right in there. There was 10 of them for $10. And then this is the lower motor resistor here. And this is one of the low speed resistors here. It's all busted and it's not working. It's broken. So I got this. It's a new one. I think somebody sat on it in the delivery truck. There's a little crack in here, but luckily that's the thicker of the coils. I'm just gonna let it rock and roll the way it is. I'm not sending it back, but this was 13 bucks. So this is brand new. Maybe the brushes hopefully will work. So I spent $23. If I would have bought this and a new blower motor, it would have been like $60. So saved a few bucks. I know this isn't great here, but if I can milk it along a few more years, I'm gonna. So let's see what happens. I gotta try and figure out how to get the brushes out. I might have to take the squirrel cage thing off, I'm not sure. Watch me figure that out. Watch me fumble around and try and figure that out. Alright, I'm getting a little creative here. I already waited for these brushes to come, and not focus. They're too loose in the holder. So I found an electrical plug and cut the little pieces off here because they seem like they'd be a pretty good spacer. I think I need just a little bit more, but they fit in here pretty tight. And I think I can use the hole in it to kind of wrap a little wire around here just to keep them from pulling out. But the brush is in there a lot tighter now. I think if I shim it just a little more with maybe a beer can or something, maybe it'll work. So I'm going to experiment with this whole Frankenstein thing. I'm going to put the measurements for these brushes in the comments, so that way you guys can just go buy the right ones instead of doing this. But I don't want to wait around another week. I don't want to spend another 10 bucks. I'm just going to make this work, and if it works for a little bit, you know, another year, cool. That's fine. I don't care. I saved a little bit of money that way. It's fun to do. Alright, so I got the little spacers in there. There's like a little piece of beer can under there too. And there's a hole in there, so I put a piece of wire through it just to keep it from pulling out. And touching the commutator, the brushes seem to fit quite a bit better now. Even better than I thought, actually. Pretty tight in there. So I think that's gonna work. I gotta solder them, desolder these, and then solder them onto here. And then I've gotta try and get it all back on here with the springs. Alright, so I attempted to test fit the brushes. They're a little bit too long, so I'm going to try and file them down a little bit. They do seem like they're fitting okay, which is good. Like I think they're going to work out good. And I was using thread ties to hold the brushes in because the spring pushes on them. These things are pretty handy, and they're free. Don't forget to use them. So anyway, I'm going to time lapse this. I'm going to grind these down and try and fit them, and I really need to clean some of this crap out of here too. So, time lapse. Here we go. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited to find out. I'm excited to see if this is going to work or not. It's kind of like a science project. I've never actually changed brushes in a motor before. I've known you could do it, I just never messed around with it. It's kind of fun to play around with, see if it's going to work. Let's put it in and hopefully it doesn't catch on fire too bad. Alright, this is the moment of truth. Let's see if it works. I'm going to start out on the low speed, which didn't work at all. Remember, we replaced the resistor in there that was broken. So, if the motor works, low speed should work now. Let's try it. It's going. Sounds a little funny, but it's going. The brushes need to wear in still, so maybe that's why it sounds a little funny. That's the next speed, that's working. A little bit stinky, but maybe that's the brushes burning in. Next speed's working. I think there's one more speed here. I think it's 4 speed. And That's max. I would say it's blowing at least as good as it used to, if not better. And I think the brushes still need to seat in. That might take, I don't know, that might take 20 minutes, a half an hour, I don't know. I had to make them shorter, so I used the round file to make them shorter so they kind of match the profile of the commutator. But they weren't perfect, so I'm sure they'll have to wear in a little bit better. But, I mean, that's blowing pretty good. I'm actually pretty surprised, because those are smaller brushes that are just kind of rigged in there. I'm going to measure the old brushes, so that way you guys can go ahead and buy the right brush instead of trying to rig it up like I did. But this seems to be working. I'm going to let it run a while. If I get another year or two out of it, I'll be happy. I think that'll be fine. It was fun to do, you know. It only, you know, instead of $60, it cost like 23, I think. So, I don't know. That's a win in my book, anyway. If I got to buy a $30 or $40 motor down the road, I'm fine with that. I got a few more years out of it, and I had some fun. So let's let this run, see if it works any better in 20 or 30 minutes, or if it catches on fire, whatever. Let's find out. I can't believe that worked. I'm in disbelief. It works better than it did before. And it's so hacked the way I did it. I measured the brush. That way you guys can go ahead and get the right brush. I'm trying to put videos out. I didn't want to wait any longer. So I had nothing to lose trying this. And it seems to work fine. I think I'm going to get 2 to 5 years out of this. Stay tuned. Let's see if that actually happens. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'm down to try some stuff. So keep tuning in, and we'll do some more crazy stuff and wild ideas, whatever. Hackeries, whatever you want to call it. Alright guys, like I promised, I'm going to measure these for you. Alright, you guys can see that. So I'm in millimeters right now. I don't know if you can see that I'm in millimeters. So let's measure it in this dimension. So that's 6.89. And about 5.92 is probably 6. 6 and 7, I guess, would be 6 and 7 millimeter. As far as length, I want to say like 10 or 12 is my ballpark on there. I don't have a good one. They're wore out. Maybe like 10 to 12. You can always shorten them a little bit too. So hopefully you guys can get the right brushes instead of a 10-pack of the wrong brushes.